When God is preparing to elevate his daughters, the signs aren't always what you'd expect. Sometimes it feels like everything is unraveling right before he's about to unveil something extraordinary. But what if I told you that those difficult seasons, those moments when life feels upside down, are actually heaven's way of preparing you for promotion? Today, we're diving deep into the unmistakable signs that God is positioning you for something bigger than you've ever imagined. I've walked alongside countless women who thought they were failing, only to discover they were actually being prepared. The pressure they felt, the doors that seemed to slam shut, the relationships that shifted, it wasn't punishment, it was preparation. And if you're watching this right now, feeling like your world is spinning, I need you to hear this. You're not falling behind, you're being positioned. God moves differently with his daughters, and today, I'm going to show you exactly how to recognize when he's setting you up for something spectacular. Here are 7 undeniable signs that God is about to release something big into your life. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why that storm you're walking through might actually be the pathway to your promise. But before we dive in, I need you to know something. This isn't just theory. These aren't just feel-good words. I've seen these patterns play out in the lives of women who are now walking in their purpose, leading ministries, building businesses, and living the abundant life God intended. So stick with me, because what you're about to discover could completely shift how you see your current season. Number 1, divine discontent begins to stir. You can't shake the feeling that there's more. You're not ungrateful for where you are, but something deep inside keeps whispering that this isn't your final destination. That job that once felt secure now feels confining. Those routines that brought comfort now feel restrictive. It's not depression, and it's not rebellion. It's divine discontent, and it's one of heaven's loudest signals that change is coming. When God is preparing to expand your territory, he first expands your vision. He stirs something in your spirit that makes settling feel impossible. You start dreaming bigger, thinking differently, and craving purpose over comfort. That restlessness you've been feeling isn't a sign that something's wrong with you. It's a sign that something's right with God's timing. He's awakening desires in you that align with the destiny he's prepared. Don't silence that stirring. It's the sound of heaven calling you higher. Number 2, your prayer life intensifies without effort. Suddenly, you find yourself talking to God more than ever before. It's not forced or religious. It happens naturally. You wake up praying, you catch yourself praying throughout the day, and you fall asleep in conversation with him. This isn't about becoming more spiritual. It's about being drawn closer to the source before he releases the supply. When God is preparing to bless his daughters, he first prepares their hearts through deeper intimacy with him. You start craving his presence more than his presence. Worship becomes less about the music and more about the connection. Prayer becomes less about asking and more about listening. This isn't you trying harder to be holy. This is God drawing you closer, because what he's about to give you requires a deeper level of trust and dependence on him. Number 3, old relationships begin to shift or fade. People who used to fit perfectly in your life suddenly feel out of place. Conversations that once energized you now drain you. Friends who used to understand you now seem to misunderstand everything. It's painful and it's confusing, but it's also purposeful. God is making room in your life for the relationships that will support where you're going, not where you've been. Not everyone can handle the version of you that God is calling forth. Some people knew you in your season of struggle, and they're comfortable with that version. But when God begins to elevate you, when he starts revealing more of who you really are, it threatens the dynamic you once shared. Don't fight the natural shifting. Don't try to force connections that no longer flow. God is making space for divine connections that will celebrate your growth instead of resenting it. Number 4, doors close in unexpected ways. That opportunity you were certain was from God suddenly disappears. The path you thought was clear becomes blocked. The timeline you had planned gets completely disrupted. It feels like rejection, but it's actually redirection. God isn't closing doors to punish you. He's closing doors to protect you from settling for less than his best. When God is preparing something big, he often removes the good to make room for the great. That relationship that ended wasn't because you weren't worthy of love. It was because God has someone better aligned with your destiny. That job you didn't get wasn't because you lacked qualifications. It was because God has a position that will utilize gifts you haven't even discovered yet. Every closed door is heaven's way of saying, not this, but something better. Number 5, your standards begin to rise automatically. Things you used to tolerate become intolerable. Mediocrity starts feeling uncomfortable. You find yourself expecting more from yourself, from others, and from your circumstances. This isn't pride or perfectionism. This is God adjusting your internal compass to match the level He's calling you to occupy. Excellence isn't about being better than others. It's about honoring the call of God on your life. When He's preparing to use you in bigger ways, He begins to develop your character to match your calling. You start showing up differently because something inside you knows you're being prepared for something significant. Your work ethic improves, your integrity becomes non-negotiable, and your commitment to growth becomes natural. Number 6, supernatural favor begins to appear. Doors start opening that you never knocked on. People begin mentioning your name in rooms you've never entered. Opportunities present themselves that seem perfectly timed for where you are and where you're going. This isn't luck or coincidence. This is God moving on your behalf in ways that can't be explained by natural circumstances alone. When God is preparing to promote His daughters, He begins to align heaven and earth to create pathways for their advancement. The right person hears about you at exactly the right time. The perfect opportunity opens up just when you're ready for it. Resources become available precisely when you need them. This is the hand of God orchestrating circumstances that your own efforts could never arrange. Number 7, your influence begins to expand naturally. People start seeking your advice more frequently. Your words carry weight in conversations. Others begin to see leadership qualities in you that you're just beginning to recognize in yourself. This isn't about becoming prideful or self-important. This is about God developing the influence you'll need to carry the assignment He's preparing to give you. Influence is never about the person wielding it. It's about the God who grants it. When He's preparing to use you to impact others, He begins to develop your voice, your wisdom, and your ability to guide people toward truth. You start noticing that your words encourage, your presence brings peace, and your insights help others see clearly. This is God developing the tools you'll need for the work He's calling you to do. But here's what you need to understand about all of these signs. They don't always feel good while they're happening. Divine preparation often looks like divine disruption. God has to disturb what is to create what will be. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by getting more comfortable in its cocoon. Transformation requires the dismantling of what was to create space for what's coming. If you're experiencing several of these signs right now, don't panic. Don't try to rush the process or skip the preparation. God's timing is perfect, and His methods are intentional. What feels like delay is actually development. What feels like setback is actually setup. The breakthrough that you've been praying for is closer than you think. But here's what most women don't realize about God's preparation process. He doesn't just prepare the blessing, He prepares you to handle it. And sometimes that preparation feels more like a test than a gift. I want to share something with you that changed everything for me. I was talking to a woman last week who had been praying for a ministry opportunity for 3 years. 3 years of doors closing, 3 years of feeling overlooked, 3 years of watching others get the platforms she dreamed of. She was ready to give up. But then she told me something that made my spirit leap. She said, "I've learned more about God in these 3 years of waiting than I learned in the previous 10 years of my Christian walk." That's when it hit me. God wasn't withholding her ministry. He was developing her message. He wasn't denying her platform. He was deepening her foundation. Because what good is a microphone if you don't have anything worth saying? What good is influence if you haven't learned how to handle it with wisdom? This is where most people get it wrong. They think God's preparation is about external circumstances lining up, but God's primary concern isn't your situation, it's your character. He's not just opening doors, He's developing the woman who will walk through them. And that development happens in the secret place, in the waiting room, in the seasons that nobody sees. Here's the 8th sign that God is preparing something big for you. Your capacity for pain and joy both increase simultaneously. You feel things more deeply. The highs are higher, but the lows can feel devastating. Your heart becomes more tender, more compassionate, but also more sensitive to spiritual things. This isn't emotional instability, this is spiritual expansion. God is enlarging your emotional range because the assignment He's preparing requires someone who can connect with people in their darkest moments and celebrate with them in their brightest ones. You can't minister to broken hearts if your own heart has never been broken. You can't lead people to freedom if you've never experienced captivity yourself. The 9th sign is this. You start receiving dreams, visions, or strong impressions about your future. God begins to give you glimpses of what's coming. Maybe you see yourself speaking to crowds, or leading a business, or writing a book, or caring for people in ways you never imagined. These aren't fantasies or wishful thinking. They're prophetic downloads from heaven about your destiny. But here's the key. These visions often come with a gap between the revelation and the manifestation. God shows you where you're going, but He doesn't always show you how you're getting there. That's where faith comes in. That's where trust becomes essential. The vision is given to sustain you through the process of preparation. Number 10, your spiritual gifts begin to operate at a higher level. If you have the gift of encouragement, people start being transformed by your words in ways that surprise even you. If you have the gift of discernment, you start picking up on things in the spiritual realm that you've never noticed before. If you have the gift of leadership, people naturally start following your direction, even in informal settings. This isn't about becoming prideful about your gifts. This is about recognizing that God is activating what He's placed inside you because He's preparing to use it in greater ways. Your gifts are not for you, they're through you for others. And when God is getting ready to expand your influence, He begins to fine-tune the tools He's given you to serve His people. The 11th sign might be the most challenging one. You start feeling a sense of urgency about things that matter eternally, while losing interest in things that matter temporarily. Shopping doesn't excite you like it used to. Gossip feels toxic instead of entertaining. You find yourself thinking about souls instead of sales, about purpose instead of possessions. This shift in values isn't about becoming religious or losing your personality. It's about your heart aligning with heaven's priorities. When God is preparing to use you significantly, He adjusts your focus to match His focus. You start caring about what He cares about. You start grieving over what breaks His heart. You start celebrating what brings Him joy. Sign number 12 is this. You begin to experience supernatural peace in the middle of chaos. While everything around you seems uncertain, something inside you remains steady. This isn't denial or emotional numbness. This is the peace of God that surpasses understanding, and it's a clear indicator that heaven is orchestrating your circumstances even when you can't see how. This peace isn't the absence of problems. It's the presence of God in the middle of problems. It's the assurance that no matter what you're facing, you're not facing it alone. And more importantly, you're not facing it without purpose. Every challenge is developing character. Every setback is setting you up for something greater. But here's what I need you to understand about this season of preparation. It's not permanent, but it is necessary. God isn't trying to frustrate you. He's trying to fortify you. He's not trying to delay you. He's trying to develop you. Because the assignment He has for you requires a version of you that can only be forged through the process you're currently walking through. The woman you're becoming through this preparation is the woman who will be able to handle what's coming. The strength you're developing, the wisdom you're gaining, the character that's being refined, these aren't just nice additions to who you are. They're essential qualifications for where you're going. So if you're recognizing these signs in your life right now, I want you to do something. Stop fighting the process and start trusting the one who's orchestrating it. Stop focusing on what you're losing and start anticipating what you're gaining. Stop wondering when it's going to happen and start preparing for when it does. Because, daughter of God, your breakthrough isn't just coming. It's being carefully crafted by a Father who loves you too much to give you anything less than his absolute best. You've seen the signs, felt the stirring, walked through the preparation, but here's the real question. When God releases what he's been preparing, will you be ready to receive it? Everything you've experienced, every closed door, every sleepless night, every moment of divine discontent was all leading to this. Drop "I'm ready" in the comments if these signs are showing up in your life. And if you know another daughter of God who needs to hear this message, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with her because her breakthrough might be waiting on the other side of this word. Your season of preparation is coming to an end. Your season of manifestation is about to begin.